Hi, and welcome to another episode of Bespoke Architects Daily Pinup. I'm Nicole Walters, Director of Bespoke Architects, and I'm about to show you what made our Pinterest boards today. More bathrooms, always bathrooms with me, staircases, screening. There was a lot of interesting things out there today. I'm going to start with the bathroom collection Diva. I really liked the vanity base and the shape, and then the fact that it's a freestanding unit with built-in storage. So I thought that was a really nice sort of throwback to a more traditional setup where we don't do a wall hung or a inbuilt cabinet for our vanity unit. And here is that same option in that turquoise blue, and they've obviously done the toilet and the bidet to match. And again, it's a bit like staircases. Don't be afraid to use color in your bathroom. People worry that it will date, and unless you're planning on selling the property quickly, I would embrace colour and do colour over playing it safe and doing something that's resellable, I guess, or that won't date. This staircase here in the gallery of a townhouse, this is a timber staircase. It's quite steep. And again, the balustrading isn't code compliant for Australia, but I really enjoyed how it was a solid timber sort of ramp underneath, and then we've got the treads, and we can actually see the supporting piece there. I just thought that was a beautiful staircase to look at from the bottom, and that's why it made the Pinterest board today. Here's another staircase from the same project, and I pinned that for the mesh netting that they've used as their balustrade, so something a little bit different. You can do it with a tensile mesh here in Australia, so it's definitely something different to do with a balustrade. They're a terrazzo looking solid slab piece that can be used in bathrooms and wet areas. So again, an alternative to tiles, and again, embracing that terrazzo look, which is very on trend at the moment, and we're seeing it used a lot. And again, it allows you to introduce color into those wet areas. I pinned a couple of, this particular little folly, so just a little structure out in the landscape. I particularly liked the color palette and the material palette, so that's why that one made the inspiration board today. I do have an inspiration board called Landscape Elements. There is a folly section which has all these sorts of wonderful and interesting structures that you can make in your own landscape. Could make a great cubby house. So do look for that board if you're looking for inspiration for your garden. This house here, the Parchment Works house, I just love that matte black of that kitchen. It's very, very dark though, so it's not what we're seeing a lot of. We see a lot of white kitchens, obviously for light, but that is a very sort of dark and earthy kitchen. I do like it, but again, without great task lighting, I don't know how much of a fan I would be of using it. I pinned this one because I just really liked the shape of that house, and then the screen around that al fresco. So that's why that one has made the board. This one made the board again for its materials palette. It has that beautiful butt jointed corner windows on either side, so it's very symmetrical in its design. But just a really beautiful, soft, earthy color palette. It's very much a building that focuses on the vertical. It appears as a very vertical structure in the landscape. So I do like it. It is what I would call a parapet structure, and I really enjoyed their use of material on that one. The Parchment Works house externally, so that's our really dark, earthy kitchen, is actually an insertion into a ruin. Quite literally, and I really enjoyed their use of this core 10. That's obviously a first floor mezzanine or balcony level over top of the enclosed ground floor, so just that use of glass and no frames. I mean, it's beautiful as an insertion into that ruin, and that's it from a different angle. Just even the different brickwork is really beautiful as a texture to look at, and something that you could do from scratch, not necessarily in the ruined shape, but definitely that colour play of recycled bricks would be wonderful to see in a residential project. The gallery of hidden panel fasteners, the screen. Again, it was just the pattern in the screen. This one has a pattern, this one has a pattern, this one here has a pattern. So really looking at the repetition of a pattern and forming it a screen, running it over solids, running it over translucents, running it through to open air. is a really nice detail to have. And again, they've run it up on their ceiling. So there's a sense of continuity throughout that design that's really well thought out. And that's why that one has made the board today. Gallery of a Shade House. I really liked it. Appears to me to be white sort of painted Rio. So they've used that to sort of tie their external landscaping into their interior. So that's it there, just this wandering courtyard with this enclosed sort of walkway, or semi-enclosed walkway, if you will. This here is just stunning. That's a lily pond right outside an opening corner of a window or a door. Again, if that water was deeper than 30 centimetres, it would require a pool fence in Australia. But it's just a beautiful detail, like just it's effortless in its simplicity. And I just thoroughly enjoy that as the way to do a corner. And then again, this beautiful tree in the pool here. It's just a really beautiful project and definitely worth checking out. The Ballarat House, so something closer to home. A really interesting material palette. This is their kitchen. They've gone for a blockwork island bench, so we don't see that too often, referencing obviously the outside materials here. They've done this vertical cladding, which we also see on the external, and then the introduction of some plywood, and then what appears to be either a reconstituted stone or a marble bench and splashback. Here's that same kitchen from a distance. So they've got the galley style kitchen. You've got your island bench, which is a free and clear workspace. At the back, you've got your cooktop, your oven, assumably a range hood, and your sink. And then behind the vertical panels is going to be their dry store food, and I'd suggest their fridge. So a really beautiful and simplistic kitchen. This is the fireplace from the same project. Again, they've reused the plywood joinery and then inserted this electric or gas heater into that. So that was an interesting detail. I really liked this internal sliding door. As you can see, no obvious door furniture. It's a face-hung door on the far side of this door by the gap that I can see there, but I just liked the simplicity of that door. More joinery from that project, and we can see this joinery carries through two different spaces. There's actually a concealed sliding door over this side of the image under the promote button that goes through, divides those two spaces. You can see a space for that in that joinery at that end. So I really liked that particular detail. Also their windows. So they've got 2/3 fixed pane, 1/3 opening casement, which is where it hinges out like a door. I really enjoyed that as a detail. And I also really like the way their eave overhang is done with these tapered rafters. I think that's it's a throwback again to a more traditional type of building, referencing mid-century, but we don't see that carry through, particularly to the inside. We don't have the number of rafters running through the inside. And here is its external here. I pinned it. The image that got me this morning was this one on the newsletter, and it's just their use of materials, the referencing to the mid-century. It's just a beautiful little property, and I'm really liking the continuity of materials that run internal to external. So always something that will make the board for me. The Gallery of the Jika. This was an incredible collection of little pods. It's actually a residential project. I liked it for the shape, the form. Obviously, they look like Smurf hats, maybe. Just really like the form. And then here we can see the detailing around that material. Again, the same material on the walls as on the roof, and that is a timber-clad material running on a 45. So really liked that. Internally, however, it's concrete. And then it looks like concrete dado at the bottom, and then it might lead up to a lightweight for the roof. So those wall panels are concrete on the inside, and then a lightweight roof structure over top. But it's just, again, exquisite. This kitchen, it's just concrete. It's so brutalist, and which is a really interesting sort of contrast to the external. The external feels quite light with that timber cladding, and then we get inside and it's quite heavy and quite masculine with that use of concrete. Just a really, really nice kitchen though, one I would like to certainly cook in. The vanity, again, interesting, sculptural, obviously a powder room. interesting use of a window above the vanity. I do have the same in my own house, and I do sometimes wish the mirror was right above the vanity as opposed to a window, but it is beautiful to stand there, wash your hands, brush your teeth, and look outside. So just an interesting combination. And then again, the shape around that window, obviously referencing what's happening externally, but just so an interesting sort of composition. Their bathtub, concrete, snail shape. It's getting deeper as you're walking down. It's at floor level. Not so sure I'm keen on sitting in the bath and looking at the toilet. That would be my only criticism. But really, really like that as a concept. It makes me think of the 1960s Dr. Dolittle film where he comes home inside a tortoise shell, or inside a snail shell. It's a beautiful bath. That is a bath that I personally would enjoy sitting in and would love to try. So I just think that's beautiful, and that is definitely why it made the board. It is not conventional. It is something totally different. And they're the types of things that we try to find to put on our Pinterest boards to get people thinking outside of their zone or what they're familiar with. So that's why that one made the board. This was a conversion of a cinema into an office. So its only natural light is the skylight in the ceiling, and it is beautiful, just that beautiful exposed concrete structure that makes up the roof and lets the light in. I don't know how I would go wanting to work in a space that was so limited in daylight and a view outside. I have previously worked in offices where views to the outside were limited to skylights, and it felt like a really long day at work. So I'm not so sure about that being a workspace for me that I would feel comfortable in, but in terms of an architectural structure and skeleton, I love it. So that's why it's made the board. The gallery of the Woodcroft Neighbourhood Centre, it was just that beautiful roof shape. The use of materials, there's a very strong horizontal line where we move up into the translucent section above the sort of window and door height. I just really enjoy that as a shape. It feels fun, and it sits lightly on the landscape, so that's why that one made the board. The renovated farmhouse, again, I just really enjoyed this as a vanity bench. It's elegant, it's simple, there's not much going on. Quite enjoyed these mirrors. They're recessed into the wall, which is not something I have seen before. So I didn't mind that as a detail. And then obviously it's got the gap between the bench and the mirror, so you don't have that issue of splash on your mirror. So just a very simple bathroom, and that's why that one's made the board. It's just the elegance, the simplicity, the brass is referenced around, and then it's just white. I mean, it is quite extraordinarily beautiful. And then the laundry with this mosaic tile on the bench top. I have used this tile in a number of projects and do like it. I have also lived in a property that had a mosaic workbench. It was actually a kitchen. I did not like it. To me, it's quite difficult to deal with the different texture on the bench as a work surface. But as a vertical material on a wall, I love that tile, but I'm not so sure I could live with it on the bench. But it is, again, an option for people to consider a tiled bench top. And again, just their choice of a ceramic laundry trough and then these beautiful traditional sort of brass handles. So that's why that one made the board. It's quite an inspiring laundry, dressing up something that, you know, most people treat as utilitarian. That's why that one's made the board. And then finally, just this little piece of freestanding furniture. It might have been in a concrete mood, but that's why this one's made the board. The symmetry of it, the shape of it, it's just really lovely. So that is everything that has made our Pinterest board today. I am, as you can see, in the process of uploading to Pinterest some of the houses that we've done in the past, just so the videos are up there, and I'm sure once they've finished reviewing it, it will be available publicly. So do look out for that on Pinterest if that is your preferred platform. And until next time, I hope you have a great day. Thanks so much for joining us. This has been Bespoke Architects Daily Pinup. Thank you.